Start, even though the walkers aren't back yet, so I don't normally like to do that, but I appreciate you guys sticking around. I know some of you guys have been done for a while, so I appreciate that. Julie had asked me to talk about hill training, interval training, tempo running, and kind of the benefits of all those. And to be straight and to the point, all of those are going to help you with your strength. Okay, Scott, we were talking a little bit about trying to get stronger, and Scott had a good point. It's like, as soon as we start talking about getting stronger in the way of running, it's like add more miles, add another workout, go to the gym, and it's like now you're working out 10, 15 times a week, and it can get overwhelming. Like, where am I supposed to get this extra time to do the extra work? And what I want you guys to realize, did you guys run Long Pond this morning? That's my understanding. Okay, that's like one of the best streets in this area to go run. Okay, it's well lit, you've got a few undulations. Hey Jim, how are you? So the thing I want you to think about when it comes to running hills is, whether you realize it or not, your biomechanics of running change as you go up the face of the hill. Now, some of it's, some of you may be going, duh, that's pretty obvious, but if you were to film yourself from the side, let's say that this is your, this is your spine from the side and you're running. When you go into the face of a hill, you don't even realize it, but you actually lean into that hill. The other thing that happens is, don't take this in the wrong way, but most of you guys are landing on your heels instead of landing on your midfoot. You won't run uphill on your heels. It's a self-correcting mechanism. As soon as you start to go up the hill, your placement of your foot, you should be landing in your midfoot. So essentially draw a plumb line right through the middle of your foot. That's where you should be landing. That's for another conversation we could talk about later. When you run hills, you automatically go to your midfoot. You'll never land on your heel running up the hill. If you don't believe me, have somebody film you with your iPhone. Okay? It's a self-correcting mechanism. If you want to learn how to run more efficiently, run hills. The bad part about running hills is your heart rate goes through the roof. Okay? So don't be afraid, and this is a cuss word in this group, don't be afraid to slow down when you're doing your hill repeats. Because if you're, how many did you guys do? Like, did you put a number? All right, 3. All right? How did that first one feel? Not so good. Usually the first one's like, ooh, why is that? Because your body's like, what are you asking me to do here? Not sure I like this. How many times have you run hills already? Like, is this your 5th time doing it, or?
I think this is the first time on Saturday.
Okay. All right. I'm not meaning to embarrass anybody. Raise your hand if it's the first time you've ever run hills, period. Okay. So think about how you felt today, because you know what to expect, versus the first time you did them and you're like, oh my gosh, this is not cool. Okay. The idea is, what is your speed to go up Long Pond? Are you guys taking your time from the stop sign right there by the crosswalk all the way to where it goes into the cul-de-sac up there? Because what ends up happening, and I get this, I'm going to show my age here, but I've been coaching for 29 years. And the problem that you run into is people go, when does it ever get easier? Well, it never gets easier because you just keep getting progressively faster. That's why I want you taking your splits from where the stop sign's at to where we measure it with our athletes, where the yellow line stops up in the cul-de-sac. So there's your start and stop point, okay? But if it takes you 4 minutes to get up there and you get it down to 3:50, you're getting faster. I'm just using that time loosely, okay? But what I want you to understand is, we're going to talk about the next time I see you, which is next week, is on heart rate monitors. And for those of you that were here last year when we talked about heart rate monitors, how hard is it on your heart to get there so that you're going to do 3 intervals, 6 intervals, 10 intervals? Because most of us will go out super, super hard on the first one, and then the next 2 are beyond painful. And you teach yourself nothing but going out, getting in pain, blowing up, and going backwards. That's kind of what we're going to talk about this morning when it comes to tempo and interval training. Because what you're trying to do, whether you like the physiology of it or not, is trying to teach yourself to go the distance and then actually enjoy it. I know right now it doesn't always seem like that's the MO, but that's really what it's all about. You want to get to that finish line and go, that was fun, relatively speaking, okay? Because it's one of those bittersweet pills, because a lot of people are like, I'm never doing that again, and then you talk to them an hour later and they want to know when the next race is. Okay, we've all been there, especially for those of you women who have had children. I'm never going through that again, and you have 3 children. It's kind of funny how you forget, okay? Same thing applies here when you're doing hill repeats. There's 3 specific benefits. One, which is the obvious, is you're going to get much stronger, okay? When your biomechanics change, you're going to be pushing off the lower calves, your glutes, your hips, the quads. Everything is going to have to, because you're offsetting the grade of the hill. I know that seems obvious. You'll notice tomorrow, or maybe you've already experienced it because you've run hills, notice that the back of your calves hurt more when you run hills. Okay, and that's because you're toeing off more. because the grade goes up. What I just say, you're not running on your heels anymore. You're going to land midfoot just because the biomechanics requires it. Okay. The other thing that it will do is there any? You said that you run hills on Tuesday. Where else have you guys run hills? Okay. I've not been to Big Tree. Does the hill go up and then level off? Okay. Have you guys run any hills where you run up the hill and then it levels off afterwards? Okay. Is there a good distance afterwards? Okay. When are you guys going back to that venue for hills? Okay. What I want you guys to think about as individual athletes is go someplace on your own where you can run a hill, okay? And when you get to the crest of the hill, catch yourself from leaning forward. When the hill levels off, notice how you'll want to drift back. It's just natural tendency. One of the things that we do with our pro athletes is we will film them after they crest. Because what you're trying to do is, one of the benefits of running hills is to learn how to run in a forward position. We call it falling forward. Okay? Go to YouTube and look at any films of men and women running Boston or New York when they're running a 4:17 pace. Okay? They are running forward. Their lower leg is just barely touching the ground. That's all it is. When you run hill repeats, that's what it teaches your body to do. As you fatigue, your shoulders will shift backwards. You're going to start landing on your hips, and it's going to become progressively harder to run. This is the second half of your race. Did I lose anybody in that? Because if you run hills and you use that as a tool and a device to learn how to properly run, when you get over and the ground levels off, you want to hold that same form. And when you do, you spend less time on the ground. If I take a tennis ball and I take a golf ball and I drop them from the same height, the golf ball will always come higher because it gives less energy to the ground because of a harder surface. The midfoot of your planting, that's your golf ball. You spend very little time on the ground. If you're back here on your heels, that's the tennis ball. You know when you watch the Mac Cam during the Wimbledon and you see that ball and the ball literally just gets real fat and then comes back? Well, that's what your heels are doing every time you hit the ground. You don't want your heels to hit. Look at the bottom, unless you have brand new shoes. Look at the bottoms of your shoes. Okay, can I touch your feet for a second? Okay, not to embarrass her, but can you touch your feet just that way? You want to see wear patterns here, not back here. Okay, and everybody's going to have wear patterns in the back of your heels at some level. But when you look at your running shoes as a whole, you want to see patterns more on the midfoot. Okay, because if I'm falling forward, my shoulders, my hips, and my feet, that's where I should be touching the ground. Okay. Why am I belaboring the issue on your foot placement? Because running hills will correct it. It does it every single time. Now, there's always a caveat. I don't want you to go and run hills exclusively because Coach Robb says it's going to make you run faster and you're going to get stronger. You'll get hurt, okay? It's too much. That's why I was curious how many intervals you guys are doing. 3 is plenty over there. It's a full half mile. You guys probably already measured that. It's a half mile from the stop sign crosswalk to the end. It's a half mile. We use it with all of our pro athletes. We do it for half-mile intervals. We do it for 1-mile intervals where they have to go out and back. We do 2-mile intervals in there. There's a lot that we use that for, okay? But what I want you guys to do is start looking at the wear patterns of your shoes, okay? When you're looking at running on hills, one of the benefits, again, if I were to film you, you would see this. You actually start moving your hands quicker when you run hills, all right? What people don't realize is your right hand controls your left foot and vice versa. So when you're on Struggle Street and you're in the latter part of the race and you're like, everything just feels horrible, speed up. It works every single time. Because as you fatigue, what did I just say to you? Your shoulders go back, you land on your heels, now you're sticking to the ground. Now the tennis ball syndrome is now hitting you. When in doubt, speed up, fall forward, okay? This is in line with running hills. I want all of you guys to buy jump rope. Some of you haven't jumped rope since 5th grade, okay? Try jumping rope on your heels. You won't do it, okay? So what we do with a lot of our athletes is we'll set up like a block, literally a block in your neighborhood. Put your jump rope out in front of your house. Run the block, stop, skip ropes 100 times, put it down and go run. Take your time. I'll guarantee you after you've jumped rope, you'll run faster. Because what happens is you start turning on a neuromuscular pattern to get off your heels because you're jumping rope. Just so you guys know, this is going to sound arrogant, but I want you to know the source of it. I was on the junior development team at the Olympic Training Center. That's their little dirty secret with the runners. Jump ropes are always at the track. Always at the track. Because nothing will teach you how to get off your heels quicker than jumping rope. If you have kids, let them jump rope and watch where their feet touch. And they don't know anything about what we're talking about. They've never heard it. They will not jump on their heels. But why do we run on our heels? Because we get tired. Why do we run hills? To get stronger so you don't gravitate back towards here. Okay? Any questions on hills? They will make you faster. Definitely will make you faster. They'll make you stronger, but they'll also improve your biomechanics of running. Remember what we said. We want you falling forward so that your head, shoulders, hips, heels, your knees right through the center of your foot. That's where you want to be at all times. When in doubt, fall forward. All right? The thing with the hill repeats, as I was saying with the arms, is when you start to fatigue, pump your arms faster. It automatically tells your feet to move quicker. So, and I'm not calling women out, but a lot of you are afraid to lift weights. You guys need to be in the gym. All right, poor Scott's like, another workout. Great, thanks guys. If you're not in the gym, you need to be in the gym, okay? Because what you have to realize is, especially in our type of sport, whether it's a 5K, 10K, all the way up to marathon, you have what we call primary movers, the muscles that move you from point A to point B. Once those primary muscles fatigue, secondary muscles have to step in. That's what strength training does for you. If you're a female and you're afraid you're going to look all beefy, I'll be happy to send you workouts that will illustrate to you that you won't get beefy, okay? Because I know a lot of you are afraid, well, I don't want, to look like a guy. I get that. But you don't want to be halfway through your race and your body's just completely broken down either, okay? Strength training in the gym is huge. Running hills is another form.